Welcome to part 2 of our ChatGPT chatbot creation. So in this part, we are going to conclude our ChatGPT creation. We are going to add our backend so that we can connect to our AI chat API. So first, we are going to create our backend file. As I said in the part 1 of this tutorial, I said we are going to create 3 backend file. That means we can try to test our building on PHP backend, Node.js backend, and Python backend. So quickly, let's create our 3 files for our 3 backends. If you want to try all the 3 backend, it's good. You can create the 3 files and follow this lesson. But if you have any favorites, maybe you are just a PHP developer or Node.js developer or Python developer, you can just create any one of the file and pick your part out of the tutorial. Now let's get started. So I'm going to create the PHP file first, .php. Okay, so I'll create our Node.js. Since Node.js is JavaScript server code, so it's going to have JS extension. So lastly, we create our Python backend. Okay, so now we are going to populate all these files with our code respectively. So we are going to write our PHP code in PHP file, then our Node.js code in Node.js file, then we are going to write our Python code in our Python file. But as I said, let's start with PHP. So this is our PHP code to connect to our AI API. So I said we are using DeepSeek API. You can use any of the AI model. You can use OpenAI. You can use anyone that you know about. What you just have to do is to change the AI API URL. Okay, that's all, and change the model name. So here we are using DeepSeek chat model. So you change the model and the URL for the. So almost all AI API returns their response in the same way. So you are not going to have problem totally when you change your AI model. So from here you can see this is our PHP code. We set our header, set it to use here. We set it to use application JSON. So that means we are sending and expecting yes response, and we allow all requests from all origin, from all URL. We are expecting requests to this file from all URL. We are not restricting it. And then we allow post and options method. So if a get is sent to this file, it's going to be rejected. Or any other method apart from these two that we mentioned. Then we set our content type, which we set in our header. So we are going to use this application JSON. So we said if the request method is option, we exit the request. Okay, but if not that, if it is post, we move on by implementing our program. So this is going to take our input and is going to extract the user message from the frontend file. Our frontend here, which you have the message that the user type in. Okay, so then the AI, so we remember that this is the user input. Okay, this is ID, and we are sending it to the UI, to the backend, using our JavaScript. So this is our payload. Can you see? So this is our test. Our test, we get the input value of the user. So this is the input that we define here. So the ID that we have in our HTML form, this is the ID that we defined, and we define our ID here by getting the element by ID. So it becomes our input. So once the user once the user add the event, by clicking the send button. So we are going to trim it. Of course, this JS function, we trim the left and the right. So we already have our, so if test is empty or not defined, we set our input to be empty. Okay, so we create we access the create message function that we created above. So we pass the value of the test, and then we tell it is a user. So it shows typing, so the one we define above. So we send it to our backend by this feed test. So our backend here is expecting message feed. So the message feed is going to be handled, and this is where you are going to put your AI API key. So once you have it, you are going to put it here. Okay. So if user message is none, so we are going to respond back to the front end that no message provided. Okay. So here we build our payload, our prompt, our AI prompt. So we define our AI model, then we build the messages. The role is user, and a content is the message we got from the front end. So we are using call in PHP. So we initiate call by defining our API URL, our AI API URL. Then we tell, this is just basic call setup. So we set all these options. So we set the method to be post, and we set it to be a return transfer. Okay, so we create the header, the HTTP header, to be content type JSON, application JSON. Then we add our API key, to the bearer authorization. All these are set in the header for the call to make the request. So we do this, we post our feed, set the post feed. So then this is going to execute all our setup, the call setup, and it's going to give us response. So this response now is going to be the response we get back from the AI. So look at it. So as you can see, once we get the response, we can use it, or we also define if it responds with error. So we make that available. Then we close our connection. So if it is error that we get, we are going to respond to the user, tell the user we have error, call error, so which we are going to display the error. So aside that, we are going to echo the response from the AI. Okay, so this is all our PHP code that we need to talk to the AI API. So now, as you can see, we need to run our PHP code so that it can connect to the AI API. So what do? to run PHP code. So just simply, I'm going to open the terminal now. You just run a single line PHP as localhost. We are running it on localhost with port 8000. You can use any port, but any port that you use is going to be the URL you are going to test your program with. So when send this, sorry about my simple error. This is just internal error to my system, so which I'm going to take care. But this is what we need here. So our PHP is running. So this is what we need. So we are going to run this. Yes, we have the PHP to talk to our AI API. So let's test by simple hello. So let's see if it works. So this doesn't work. You know the reason, because we have incorrect API key. So which I'm going to set my own API key. Sorry, I'm not going to show you that because I don't want to make my API key to be public, so for abuse. So I've changed my API key. So we are going to test again. So what you just need to do is to replace the API key with the valid API key you get from DeepSeek. So let me talk to our AI by saying hello again. We are still having our network error. So here we are going to change our backend URL from the script file, our CSS JavaScript code, so to be our PHP file as we said. So we are going to do that and restart the server for PHP. So let me restart the server for PHP. So we have it restarted. So let's try it again. I'm going to reload and try again. So can you see? We have our AI responding. So what to ask AI? Or just ask some silly question. What is the difference between a boy and a girl? Let's see AI response. This is taking a little bit long because we are connecting from the local server. So it's going to take some time to propagate to route to the internet. And probably our internet is my internet is a little bit slow. So our AI responded to us with some information. Can you see? So with detailed information. So this is just the simple way of making your own ChatGPT using PHP simple backend. Okay, so we are going to create Node.js backend in the next lesson. I don't want to make our video to be too long, or anybody that is not interested in any of the backend can just watch the video that works for them. Thank you. I will see you in the next lesson to show you how to connect the backend with Node.js. Bye.